G'day everybody, I'm here with Chris Whyte. Chris is the head coach of Stronghold Ballarat, a kind of new team, but not kind of a new team, competing at this year's Team Champs. We're excited to have Chris on board. How are you going, mate?
Yeah, good, mate. Good. Yeah, recycled from Ben's army. So out of the ashes becomes another gym. So as it always does. So yeah, mate. Good.
We're excited. So yeah, in the past, previously Ben's army gym, obviously now Stronghold, so under new management and new face. That's the first thing I kind of wanted to ask you actually about was, tell me a little bit about Stronghold, how that kind of happened, and what's it been like since. When did that happen? What's the history?
Well, honestly, it was a fairly quick happening. Ben came up to us, Jason and I, who's co-owner and who's actually competing in the 140 pluses at the Team Champs. Told us what was going on and he was looking to get out. And so Jason and I just sort of looked at each other and said, should we? So we had a bit of a chat outside and rang Ben the next day, I think, and said, we're interested in buying it, because a couple of the other identities around Ballarat were, who were looking at the gym weren't powerlifting related. We didn't want to lose that in Ballarat. So we put our hands up, had a look at the books, shook hands with Ben, I think 6 or 7 days later, and the rest is history. So it was a fairly quick turnaround time. And from that, we're sort of trying to develop powerlifting around Ballarat. We've had a fair few powerlifters come in since then, spent some money on equipment, new combo racks, new mono, new bench for the GPC APL guys. So yeah, invested a bit of equipment, 4 ton of plates we bought or something like that, Goliath plates. So yeah, it's come along well. So as well as that, just the general membership's up about 10%. So we've got about 500 members there. So yeah, it's looking good. So
That's actually crazy that it happened so quick. I didn't realize that it was such a quick thing. Like from the outside, it felt quick, but it always feels quick from the outside. And usually think, okay, internally there must have been a lot going on for a while. And Ben hadn't told me much, so I just assumed he was keeping that private. But I don't think he was. In hindsight, it doesn't sound like he was keeping it private because he was trying to hide anything. I think it's just because there was nothing to tell me, and then it all kind of happened so suddenly.
And it all kind of, yeah, that's exactly right. He did have a couple other parties, as I said. He sort of looked through. One was just a general gym type thing, and the other was Hot Temple, which do the hot weather training, inside. So we were a bit confused about that one. But yeah, we didn't want to lose that powerlifting in Ballarat. So Jason and I put our hands up, took over it. Jason's managing it day to day, and we're painting and still doing all that. This year will be a bit of a marketing exercise to try and increase the powerlifting presence in Ballarat and Western Victoria, and work with some of the gyms like Strong Geelong and out of Colac C1 there with those guys, and try and get a bit of a trend in Western Victoria and get powerlifting moving. So.
Excellent. And so you're a bit of a what's the word I'm looking for here? Kind of I'm missing the word right now. But you're not exactly in the limelight in powerlifting. You kind of like to stay behind the shadows, but you actually do a lot, and you've been contributing for a long time. For those that might not know who Chris Whyte is, what's your background in lifting? When did you start lifting? And because I feel like it's only been the last 5 years or so that you've really dived
really
into. You're a state chair of USAPL now, and like, what's all that been like?
So I started lifting 15 years ago in the Victorian Drug-Free Powerlifting Association, which was one of those little feds around. I think it was mainly Victoria, New South Wales, and they had a World Drug-Free, which curiously enough, I think APU's gone over to now. They're their new international arm, which I had a bit of a chuckle about. But yeah, so that's where I sort of started. After it was when I was 37, after a bit of a health scare, thought I'd better get into the gym, ended up powerlifting. That was in the old, we trained West Side originally. So yeah, that was an interesting thing with Adam Mazon, who used to own the gym up our way, and moved down to PTC Eltham, and now I'm moved on from that, I think. So yeah, a few names there, and then took a bit of a break. With work, got too busy, was traveling a lot, and then probably 7 years ago, walked into Ben's gym. Again, just wasn't healthy, started just general fitness, general PT, and then got back into the powerlifting with Ben, and we ended up with a bit of a crew down there, so it was good.
That's awesome. And so what's your role now in powerlifting? What would you say is you're refereeing? I feel like you're refereeing at every comp that I go to, and you're state chair of USAPL now too.
Yep, so state chair of USAPL. So organising comps, managing some of the comps for gyms, their sanctions, all that sort of stuff, being present at the competitions. A bit less refereeing nowadays, which is good. So took probably the last 5 months off, haven't refereed too many comps. But yeah, before that was refereeing a lot of comps while they got referees qualified in USAPL, and was helping to qualify them. So was travelling a bit with them there, went down to Tassie, South Australia, up to New South Wales, which was good. It's good to see powerlifting in Tassie moving along well too. So and then, yeah, it's basically we've run a few comps out of Ben's gym, and now we're looking at our first comp in April on the 27th at Stronghold. So help Ben, or well, basically ran the comps for Ben, and he gave me basically the leverage to do that within his gym, which was great, and how trusting he was of me. So yeah, that's where it sort of lies. And other than that, just yeah, we'll help where I can. So spot load, do just about any job really. So
It's interesting because a lot of the other people that I've interviewed, all the other coaches are coaches full time. They tend to be coaches full time, whether it be online or in person. Whereas I don't think that coaching is your full time gig, is it?
No. I'm actually in the office now. I'm an IT manager at a council. That was my tree change. Used to work for a multinational, so I work in IT basically every day. Manage a group of five people. Pretty rewarding working in a small community. So yeah,
I think what I love most about it though is that for all the other people that I've interviewed so far, because they are coaches, that's the way they give back, right? They're coaching, they're helping these lifters, they're inspiring these lifters, taking them to great heights, all this kind of stuff. And what I like about what you've just described your story is that, okay, coaching is not your number one forte. It's not your skill set that you grew up with, but you can contribute in other ways. And so you've used your skills in other ways, like through refereeing and through, management and being a state chair, all this kind of stuff. And you're still super involved. Like you're as involved as anybody I know, but you're not actually at the ground level. Although you're actually a pretty decent coach because you've seen so much lifting. I think you've just developed the skills over time by watching so much of it.
Well, yeah, and the handling as well. I love handling lifters on comp days. Handled Frank at nationals, which was great against Victor, my own coach. So that was a good day, and you just learn. Like even when you were coaching Ben and stuff, and I was just helping load and handle out the back, you just learn. You take every opportunity you can in the sport to learn, and that's what you've got to do in this sport: give back, learn. Follow those processes and just get better and better all the time. So I mean, I'm 53. You never stop learning in this sport, and that's what you do. Coaching methods change, different things change around the grounds, and you just got to learn. And then you go to different feds as well, and the rules are different, or the equipment's different. Spotted down in Strong Geelong out of a mono for the first time a few months ago, and that was fantastic as well. So yeah, just keep learning. So.
Love that as an approach. Now the team champs are coming up. I think we're 6 weeks away, and
yes,
Stronghold are bringing a team. And I don't actually know. Maybe you would know. I don't know if Ben's Army have actually brought a team specifically. Maybe they have once before.
Well, we did once. Yeah, we did once. So it was Ben, Rob. I can't even remember who the lifters were now, to be honest with you. So.
Oh right, that was 2019.
Yeah,
and that was the year that we won, and Jake and Ben beat Jacob. I remember.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's correct. Yep.
One of my fondest memories is whenever Jacob loses.
Jacob makes his return this year. I see we see, so that'll be fantastic to see him back on the platform. So.
Excellent. And so, can you talk us through who you've got competing for Stronghold this year? Who are the 4 lifters?
Yep. So we got Alyssa Britten. So she did well in nationals, junior. Under 67 women, she'll be looking to. She's got a big squat, so she'll be looking to squat 175 or so. Big bench, pretty average without the girls. Around that, the girls in that weight group around the 80 kilo mark. Although there's a couple of strong girls in that group who've got big benches, and then deadlift about the same as her squat. We've got Jason Oakley. So Jason's the co-owner of Stronghold. So he's in the 140 pluses up against Tony. So Tony can probably give up after his squat and bench and just take a leisurely deadlift. But that's all right. Someone's got to keep him honest. So, so Jason's competing there. So Jason squatted 275. Jason's a master's lifter, M2 with me. So at Nationals, he squatted 275 and deadlifted around the same number. So he'll be looking. Jason's chasing that 700 kilo total, so he'll be looking to see what he can do there. Then we've got Aaron Grant. He's the deadlift specialist. Is Aaron? He pulled 315.5 at USAPL Nationals as a junior. So he'll be looking there. He'll probably he'll place well and truly in that group. I believe he'll come second It'll be
And what
between him
weight,
and
what weight class was he? Sorry.
he's in the 125s. So
Okay.
him and Brody and Van are in there. So, and then last but not least, we've got Tyson, of course, Tyson Andrews in the 100s between him and Thomas Glover and Tony Nguyen and Tim Wang. So yeah, that's probably one of the most competitive weight groups in there, to be honest with you, around those guys. So it's going to be, as you know, we were talking about, this is probably one of the most competitive comps I've ever been involved with. When you start to put numbers on sheets and look where people are and previous form and bits and pieces like that, it's just unbelievable how competitive this is. It's more competitive than the nationals we saw last year, and I think so. The caliber of the lifters, it's an elite comp. So it's probably a pity it's only a local comp, to be honest with you, because it's probably a national level, if not better, comp, this one. So.
Yeah, I mean, before we hit record, yeah, you were saying that you think that this is one of the most competitive comps you've seen. I mean, the title of local comp, I think, is just a title, right? Or national comp. You could put national in front of it. I don't think it matters as much, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So, but yeah, it's amazing competition. So yeah, so that's the team. They're all pretty keen. Training's going really well for all of them. Jason's probably been taking a little bit easy, and he's starting to get into it now a bit more with 6 weeks out. But he's just a strong brute of a man for his age group and so forth. So yeah, the team are all training really well. Even Aaron had a bit of an issue where he broke a toe and he PB'd his squat with a broken toe. So yeah, training for the guys is going really well. So
that's good to hear. And I wanted to ask you, because although some of your lifters are in very competitive classes, the important thing for you guys, because Stronghold Ballarat are competing on day one, the Challengers bracket. And so the main goal in Challengers bracket, for those listening that mightn't realize, is you've got two main goals usually, and I'd be curious to hear what your goals are. One is to win the day, and that is at the end of day one, once we start packing up and get ready for day two, whoever's on top wins $500. Doesn't matter where the chips fall afterwards, because after day two, some of those placings will change as lifters move around in their weight classes, fall behind, or whatever. So what matters is after the end of day one, whoever's on top wins the $500. And the second goal is to finish top four. And finishing top four guarantees you, no matter what happens, you get an invite into the Premier bracket the year after. So it doesn't matter if XYZ happens and 50 new teams sign up. Doesn't matter. If you finish top four, you get to be promoted.
Yep.
Now, the important thing is that some of those lifters that you've got who are competing up against strong lifters, those lifters are the next day. So in some sense, it kind of doesn't matter, because, Jason, for example, has got Tony, but Tony's on the next day. Alyssa's got a strong list of girls to fight against, but they're the next day. Tyson will have his work cut out for him on the day. But what would you say is Stronghold's goal? What's your goal for the day of lifting, and what are you kind of hoping to achieve? Because I know you've been looking. I know you're paying attention.
Yeah,
you're not turning up blindly.
Oh, look, I've got a massive spreadsheet over here on the other screen with some numbers. I can forward it to you if you want. It's
I've got enough spreadsheets. I've had everyone send me spreadsheets.
So yeah, and that's basically what we're looking at. We're looking to get promoted into Premier next year. A couple of, like, Lissy's only done a couple of comps before, and Aaron's only done 2 or 3, I think. So it's getting experience in that big competition environment for those guys as well. It's going to be a busy warm-up room. Nationals is a bit lucky. You've got a bit more area. But when you get these big comps, the warm-up room's a bit busier. The crowd's a bit louder because it's condensed. Everything's condensed. So it condenses that feeling and amplifies that feeling. So it'll be to get those guys used to bigger competition environments, but also, obviously there is a chance on the numbers. It'll come down, I think, between Tyson and Thomas, who actually wins the day. That's what the competition will come down to from all the numbers I've run. It'll come down to those two, and if Thomas can beat Tyson and Tyson can beat Thomas, that'll probably decide who wins the day in the day one event. So at the moment, I've probably got and Panthers, throw them into the mix as well. Panthers powerlifting, they're in there around about with their lifters as well. So they're the 3 to look out for on that day. And not far behind would be Avia and so they're probably the 4 to look at on the Saturday that'll fight out for that top 4 and the win on the end of the day. So it'll come down to a couple of those one-on-one battles. So
yeah, I really appreciate that you've made all the effort, excuse me, to look into look into each of the classes and to make your spreadsheets. Because like I said, I've had about half a dozen people say, I've made a spreadsheet and I've done this and I've done that. And I'm almost getting overloaded with how many spreadsheets. And I'm not as organized as most people. So I've got spreadsheets everywhere. I'm getting confused. Like, which one's which? Like, which spreadsheet am I supposed to be using for tracking this? And I'm like, I better not be deleting someone by accident. And I'm just like having to re-export it from lifting cards every time. Just do it fresh.
Yeah. So no, it's been interesting. So they're the 4 teams to look out for. I think Panthers. I know we probably all wanted to see Webby back on the platform, but I think even their team's a strong team, and we can't underestimate the guys coming down from Queensland. Yeah,
I definitely agree with that. And they've made very, very good choices. I was going to ask you about choices as well. How did you guys come to pick your 4 lifters? Like, I'm excuse my ignorance, I'm just not super familiar with the way that you guys run your coaching at Stronghold at the moment. Who's doing most of the coaching in the gym? Is that you? And how do you pick? I mean, Jason's an easy pick, but how do you pick the other 3?
Jacobs does most of the coaching out of there. We do 3 sessions a night, 3 sessions a week where the team can come down. But that's even guys outside the team. So I know Tyson, even though he's not necessarily lifting with the group all the time, he comes down, and a lot of guys come down for comp prep so they can have spotters and stuff like that. So we just sort of sat down. Jason's always there or thereabouts. Aaron's always in the gym. He never misses a training session. He's fairly well self-coached. Him and his partner Sam, she handles him a lot of the comps, but Aaron's just a workhorse. He just keeps working and working and working and working. So he was an obvious choice for the team. Tyson, obviously, he's a good guy. Him and Alana come and help out with comps and do everything. They're great. They're great individuals and a great couple to have on board. So Tyson was in there, and I just didn't want to field an all-male team. And Lissy's probably one of the strongest pound for pound lifters we've got in the gym at the moment. She came over from another gym a little while ago. She's loved it since she's come in. We all get around her. And she's been a great addition to the team. So she was just more than happy to do it. And again, it being her 3rd comp, she's only done 1 comp at Stronghold. When it was Ben's Army, then Nationals, and so this is only her 3rd comp, I believe. So getting her that experience, give her a bit more confidence in herself, and being able to lift. She's got some big numbers, and she'll do well on the day. So.
It's funny because you said, you didn't want to have an all-male team, so you've got Alyssa in there. But at the same time, I don't think you meant it that way. But I mean, she's a weapon in her own right.
No, exactly right, mate. So, she, as I said, she's probably pound for pound the strongest out of the team, to be honest with you. When you start to look at 175 kilo squat she did in training just before Nationals for a 67.5 kilo junior, it's amazing. So,
I wanted to ask you a little bit more about her actually, because you said that Tyson will have his work cut out for him, obviously, against Tom. Alyssa, is it Alyssa? Am I saying that right? Alyssa, sorry. She won Nationals last year in the 67.5 junior. And from what I can tell, she just seems to continue to progress. What's her day looking like? What are the goals for her? And who is she really facing up against, at least on day 1, and then in the broader sense, the whole 67 class?
Okay, so her goals are probably she wants to avenge a little bit. She missed a 175 squat at Nationals, so she wants to come back and do that. She's more than capable of it. It's just her on the day and keeping her posture and her form throughout the squat. So she wants to come back and avenge that. Her bench has been improving all the time, so she probably wants to get up around that 75, 80 bench. I can't remember what she benched at Nationals off the top of my head, but it is in here somewhere. So she wants to bench that. She benched 72.5 at Nationals, and she deadlifted 167.5. So she wants to get around that 170, 172. But her training's been moving along. She's been repping stuff she's never repped before in the lead up. She'll go into her peak block a lot healthier than she has been. Leading into Nationals, she had a few shoulder and elbow niggles and things like that. So she's a lot more confident coming into this comp. On the Saturday, I think her main competition is probably Felicia and Lily from Arvia and Lioness. Although I think she's probably got 50 kilos on those guys. So Saturday, as long as she keeps her head in the right space and doesn't sort of slow down, she'll still be a challenger on the Sunday. The Sunday, obviously, the other girls will know her total, so they'll be able to try and pick her off if they can. but I think she'll give them a good total to pick off. So they're all gonna have to go at 100%. That's Lottie, Abby, and Edwina. Of course, Eddie's always there or thereabouts. So those three will be going at their hardest to pick her total off, I believe. So
and don't forget about Jess Lamb as well from Crundle Crew. You know, Matt in his interview said that she could go 420 plus. I'm just doing the math quickly in my head. You know, 175 squat, 70 deadlift, that's 45 plus 80 is a 425 total. So there is a chance, obviously, like you said, the other girls are going to have that chance to pick her off. But, you know, sometimes what happens is, and I've seen this happen before at many comps, especially at nationals and international level, is someone from the Group B fights on their own, and so they just run their own race and they put together a great day. You know, imagine Alyssa puts a 9 out of 9 day, and the other three are so
430.
And the other girls are fighting so hard between themselves, and there's so much pressure that they miss a squat here and they miss a bench here, and all of a sudden, you know, Alyssa comes out on top. So I would not be surprised if that was the case. I'm not predicting that, but I just wouldn't be surprised.
As I said, that weight group is just uncompetitive. That's the most competitive weight group. You know, when you got five girls fighting it out, they've all got over 400 totals. You know, there's the highest is 435, but whether that comes out on the day, as you said, you know, it's going to come down to who goes 9 for 9 and who you know has got the best strategy at the end of the day. So yeah, that's what a few of those are going to come down to. It's who goes 9 for 9 on the day, and who can put together that complete day. So
yeah, of course. Now I wanted to ask you as well about Tyson's group. Again, a very, very competitive group in the 100 class, like lots of good lifters in there.
Yep.
So similarly, a bit of a preview there. So he's got Tom on day 1 against him, and and I don't think it's unfair to say that Tom probably the favorite in that session.
Correct.
But what do you think is going to pan out and across the weekend as well?
At Nationals, I think, and again, Tyson wants to come back and avenge. He missed his second squat at Nationals. He sort of, I can't remember what it was, 167 and a half or something, around that number. He sort of missed, and then he came back, repeated. So he lost about 12 kilos on the day. On their best days, I think Thomas is around 20 kilos ahead of Tyson. On their best day, 767 to 787 on their best lifts. But you're adding on another 15 kilos for Tyson if he makes his squats. Yeah, that's
I think Tom was a weight class up on that 787. I think he was 110 when he did that.
Yeah, that's right, he was. Yeah, so Tyson's very much there or thereabouts. So again, I think it'll come down to the 9 for 9 strategies on the day. Who's got that final deadlift? Because I know Thomas has got the biggest deadlift, but Tyson's improving his deadlift all the time. He's doubled 300, same as everyone else, and done all that sort of stuff. I remember when 250, when I started powerlifting, was the magic number, mate. Now it's 300, and I was looking at the team as well, and that Chad's team, you know, with Thomas and Remy and all those sort of guys, and Joshua and Brody. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if, it'll be Judge. 3 of the 4 will pull 300 easily. It's a pretty amazing group of individuals. So, and even Josh Joyce won't be that far away. His deadlift is pretty good. So, so as far as Tyson goes, and then you throw Tony Newen in. Tony, YOLO the last lift. You never know with Tony. He can do amazing things when he has to, and when he's asked to. So, those three it's just an amazing competition to watch. And then you've only got like 4 kilos behind. You've got Timothy Wang as well out of Sim Strength. So those 4 lifters, it's going to be a pretty damn good battle. So
it's a common theme across all the interviews that I've done is the coaches want to say everyone. I'm like, who do you think is going to win? They go, oh, this guy's got a good chance, and that guy, and that guy. Don't forget about her. Don't forget about him. I'm far out.
I think Thomas will probably pip Tyson. I'll probably use that to motivate Tyson a bit. So
he'll be salty. So, he'll be mad about that.
Yeah, that's right. So, and then probably Tony in third place in that weight group. That's sort of where I'm sitting at the moment. So,
no, that's very fair. I was going to ask you. You kind of said the standards going up. 300 is the new 250. You said about the girls in the 400. I'll give you an example. In 2019 Team Champs, we won. TSF won, and the best female lifter of the day was Jules Nanetti, who's my good friend, previous Australian champion. She won nationals year prior in the 58 class, or whatever it was. At that comp, she totaled 400 at 64, or different weight classes. She totaled 400 at 64, and she was the best female lifter. This year, you're telling me that 400 at 67, okay, 3 kilos heavier weight class, 467 won't even get you fourth. Like,
no, that's right.
You know, you'd probably come fifth with that total, and that's just
Yep.
one weight class. And you're looking like that across the board. Like in the 100 kilo class, 5 lifters are going to total 700. You know,
Yep.
in the 110s, 5 lifters are going to total 750. Sorry, 750. Like
Yep.
that would have won a nationals not long ago. What you know, like I said at the start, you've been around long enough and you've seen lots of comps. What do you think a comp like this kind of competitive level of comp has done for the way that people want to train and the level of seriousness they take their training and competing?
Oh, there's no doubt over the years. Well, firstly, the coaching methods are vastly different. They're far superior. They look at recovery. I remember training Westside where you just went into the gym and killed yourself every day, basically. You maxed out something every session, whether it be some stupid lift with bands or whatever. But the coaching methods are vastly different. A lot more concentration on recovery. And it's not just, and the lifters nowadays are just leaner. They're fitter. They're everything nowadays. That's all, from that. So that obviously means that the sport's become more professional. Guys aren't just eating what they want and doing this and doing that anymore. They're taking their supplements. They're eating the right foods that are nutritious. They're training a lot more professionally. So, and the coaches are a lot more professional nowadays, especially with online coaching coming into it. You have to be, or you just don't get the lifters anymore. If you don't portray a professional front as a coach, you're not going to get the lifters anymore. So all those things combined have just lifted the standards. And I know years ago we were a long way behind the US and some of the other countries. I think slowly we are catching up as more people get involved. There's no doubt the sport's become a lot more popular. Even some of the lifters that aren't competing, Anthony Hill out of Melbourne University came along. He was a strong, and his lifting's gone through the roof. At Melbourne Uni, he's gone overseas and competed and stuff like that. So it's just a more professional atmosphere in the gyms as well now. It's not that dog eat dog world. It's a lot more supportive nowadays as well. So all those things combined, it just means that people are doing better. So
yeah, I think you're right, and I think we've modernized obviously with the internet, and there's more knowledge. Like everybody's a bit more knowledgeable. 15 years ago, the only way to learn stuff was magazines and maybe
correct.
reading a random blog on the internet that barely was trustworthy. Whereas nowadays, there's so much information, and you're right, the standard's gone up. I think as well. One of my goals of running this meet is to provide lifters a competitive opportunity. Obviously what Australian powerlifting has been through over the last few years, there's just been so much dilution.
Yep.
And this isn't to take credit away from anybody that has seen success, but I think to win a nationals, for example, nowadays in the last 2 years, just doesn't mean the same as it used to mean. And that's, again,
I agree with that.
I say that very delicately, because to win a nationals in any weight class is awesome. But to win a national, say in 2015, 2016, 2017, like when drug-free lifting in Australia was at its prime, meant a big deal. It meant, wow, you're actually the Australian champion. Whereas the state it is in now, there's 3 Australian champions in every weight class,
Yep.
plus juniors and mass and all this kind of stuff. And so just having this meet, condensing everyone, I said this at the start, it's just such a high competition event. Putting everyone in the same event. Of course, this doesn't address the issue of multiple federations and whatnot, but it gives everyone an opportunity to fight and to compete.
Yep. Well, I've even noticed when I was looking at things, there's a couple who were doing their first competition in USAPL. They've come over from APU, and then someone else who's a couple of WRPF lifters lifting in it, a couple of GPC lifters who've been done capo and so forth. So, it has brought some of those people across into these competitions from those other federations to make it more competitive. So, yeah. And it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next one. I think we said that before after PA, wasn't it? We heard it's going to be an interesting 12 months of powerlifting, and I think again we can say that. I think we say it every couple of years.
I was going to say, I say it every 13 months. Yeah,
that's right. So it's it's an ever-evolving thing, but I'm sure at some point in time it'll settle down, and it might take a few people to stand up and unite powerlifting, but we'll see how it goes. So.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I would say I care about is, as a meet director point of view, is putting together good meets, giving everybody an opportunity to compete, and compete in a way that actually feels really meaningful. We have our essentially novice comps or not so competitive comps where it is a little bit more supportive and a little bit more welcoming and inclusive, and I mean every comp is like, it doesn't matter what level you are, people are going to cheer for you, all that kind of stuff is great. But this is that one comp where you can be a little bit more competitive and put pressure on lifters, and I want the lifters to feel pressure. I want Tyson to be training harder than he normally would because
Correct.
he wants to fight for Stronghold, and I want Alyssa to train harder than she might normally would because she wants to fight not just for herself but for you guys.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that's what it's developed to be. When you start looking at some of the people's training videos and so forth, those who have been putting them up, it's been an interesting thing. So, yeah, it's been good to see. So, and especially when you see the Chads, they've been putting up videos recently of them all getting together on the weekends. Brody's coming down from Bendigo, and the guys are getting together and training at different gyms. It starts to see some of that united type stuff as well. So,
for sure. Now, earlier you touched on your picks for the day one. So I think you put yourself in there, Avia, the Chads, and who was I missing? And the Panthers.
Yep.
Overall, top three. Who's going to take the win? Who's going to come second? Who's going to come third? It's very hard, I know, but you've got to put it on the line.
I reckon it's going to be back to back. Lou Lift. Looking at some stuff, they've got a few sneaky ones in there. I reckon. Good few lifters, so I reckon Victor's team will be pretty close there or thereabouts. We've got the Apex boys, obviously, with a few sneaky ones in there. It'll depend on Asher. I think you discussed that with Tyson, Tyler the other day. We'll see how he goes in his first comp. It's a big comp to come in at, but often that's not a bad thing either. You get thrown in the deep end, often you come out the other side a lot more experience. So. And I think strength culture will be in there somewhere as well. So with some of their lifters, we've got Deuce and Abby, Stronel, and I think they're there or thereabouts. So I'll pick them I'll pick Lou Lift first, strength culture second, and Apex third. So.
All right, I love that as a prediction. The interesting thing about your predictions is all of them have lifters that are in tight fights. So you mentioned Abby Stronel. She could come first. She could come fifth or fourth. Same thing for Asher. Same thing for who was it you said first? Frank Becerra, for example. He's in for a tough fight in 82.5. That's a tight field. So
yeah.
That's what you want. You want there to be uncertainty. Like, of course, Tony Reinmuth's going to have the win with a 100-kilo deadlift. But there's a lot of uncertainty, and I think that's one thing that we're looking most forward to.
And I think some of those ones I've looked at and seen and looked at who's performed well under pressure in the past. And a lot of those lifters in there have done pretty well when it's come down to that, second, third deadlift and third squat, which are probably, I reckon, the biggest lifts of the day. The third squat is ever important. It sets you up. If you can make that third squat and make it a good one, then that sets you up for the day. Coming into bench and then deadlift. So, and then obviously the second deadlift, you've got to make that and pull that like you mean it to have a good go at a big third. So,
yeah, of course, give yourself a chance to fight. Look, mate, I appreciate you taking the time to sit with me and chat.
At all, mate.
I've really enjoyed talking to you, catching up as well, and obviously previewing what's going to be the biggest local comp of the year. Thanks a lot.
Look forward to it, mate.
All right, talk to you soon.
Bye.